Can everyone on the Zoom hear me? That's much better. Okay.
I got a public comment. I'll make a comment.
Great. So for those that missed it on the Zoom call, we just we did agenda setting and approval of the meeting minutes, which was unanimous. Treasurer report, we have 300 and some odd and change. And this takes us to public comment. There were no comments from the room. Is there anyone on the Zoom channel that would like to have 2 minutes at this time? Non-agenda public comment. Anything that's on your mind? All right.
I'll take 2 minutes.
Yes.
I've lived in Omaha for a couple years now, and no matter where I've lived, I believe in supporting small business. And I make it an effort every week when we go out and we shop and everything, to keep it right here between the two bridges. So I've been exploring more businesses around here lately, and I recently learned that some businesses on Inland Avenue are prioritizing profits over community well-being. And it's apparent at the parks, and it's apparent in front of these businesses. And I talked to the smoke shop over by SoCal Sushi recently, and the owner and them admit that they're selling meth pipes under the guise that they are oil burners or flower bases, believe it or not. So I'm trying to normalize to kindly ask them to stop selling these devices that I find walking in the gutter broken. That I find at Fort Canyon Park, right before Kittle it. I think they're gonna find a way to use it no matter what, but I don't think we should locally, especially, be contributing to a problem that is really making things worse for everybody. Especially when it comes to property theft. Having, we're eating dinner at SoCal Sushi and we see junkies coming in. Clearly not there for tobacco or marijuana pipes. These pipes are sold right alongside leaf pipes. So that's where it gets funny for me, and I'm gonna start circulating distance. So I'm looking for any help. This business owner, anyone who is not the door. Thank you.
Next up is digital communications monitoring. Oh, sorry. Someone on Zoom? Okay. Digital communications monitoring, any emails, Facebook posts of interest. As a side note, our own website was updated yesterday. Thank you, Sammy, for getting it organized. So now it's the navigation's a little clearer, easier to find things on there. Next item is the formation of an election committee. We failed to do form an election committee last month when John Rivera was here, didn't have time. And so we're going to do a little catch up here, and we need to form an election committee and guide me on this, on the process. We form the committee, publicize it, collect votes, and then ratify it. Do we have a motion to create an election committee?
Also moved.
Okay. Then I guess we vote to create a committee.
Volunteers.
Okay. We have volunteers for election committee, and to describe what's going on.
How many people do we have?
I believe we have. I believe there's 5 seats open, including Jim's. Because we have 15 seats total. We're currently populated to 10.
Well, most of us are up for re-election.
Right. So 4 plus the 5. I mean, basically, we could see 9 on the ballot. A lot.
I think we could see 11. There's 15, and there's only 4 people that aren't up for re-election.
Okay.
So I think we have 11. Lots of room. Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. We have volunteers for the committee. And why am I not seeing the owl up here? Oh, I see.
No, it's showing up here.
Okay, good.
More.
Yeah, can you-
We need to promote, to the general public, and the flyer that I passed around is what, Kensington Town has put together. And they've set up, free voting tables, for collecting votes. We're basically handing out the ballot. So like, person can come up, they would prove their residency or business ownership. They would receive a ballot, which they could then turn in anonymously into the ballot box.
There at the table.
Which is, I'm not sure it's at the, yeah, I would believe it would be at the table, so they don't have to come to the meeting. David Marty said this was a modification from when during the pandemic, when we weren't meeting, so they're trying to create a blend and also spread it out across, their community planning area, which is, kind of elongated because of how much. So we're a little more condensed. I think we're fairly central on Adams Avenue, so I think it just, if we were at committees or blind lady ale house, we would probably be able to cover the neighborhood that way. But they did put up, signs at Stelli's and Gem Coffee Shop, sort of describing what you see on this first page, to promote it.
I don't know nothing about. There's someone, even like, there's a minimum. This.
Minimum number of voters.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, isn't the election done as, 50% of the votes for anybody? So if you had 3 people, that's enough. I mean, we don't have a threshold for the number of votes we have to get from the community.
A nominee must receive at least 2 votes. That's the only restriction we have.
2 votes. So they could vote for themselves, and their friend could vote for them, and then we're good to go.
As long as those folks are members of the and the neighborhood.
Okay. You'll see that Kensington has, I think, 16 listed for their 7 open seats. We're going to be the exact
Yeah,
opposite.
like we're struggling to get 11 people to go out.
Yeah. So if you want to, kidnap some people from Kensington, bring them over.
Well, we were doing anything like this before.
We haven't done it in a long time. I think during,
We hold elections every year. And normally we have a nominating committee which comes up with nominees. Nominees can come from the floor. We do some checking to make sure that the nominees qualify as members of the community. Sometimes we check their address. And then we have secret balloting from those in the room.
okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not the table out in the community.
So-
like this.
We haven't,
okay.
with lack of more publicity, I think that would be a waste of time.
I think it would be hard to put that together in
Yeah.
a short time.
Okay,
So I see like more of an importance in getting people to attend, and like being in different locations. I would think. It's like if you want to be part of it, like coming to our meeting.
okay.
Every day.
And then we have
Yeah, it's like at that point. well,
hand out the
hopefully-
ballots and take in the
Yeah.
ballots all
So
in.
I think we should have a committee, to make sure we plan that, we're getting on the ballots, collecting nominees.
Would that be like that taking place on one night, like
Yeah.
in one
Sorry.
meeting?
Yeah,
We're discussing the whole process. But establishing a nominating committee is going to be the hardest part. Nominees, and by the way, the nominees, not only to the media, but to be part of the community, you have to have attended a certain number of meetings beforehand. And I think it's true. So there is a limited number of nominees that we can use. We can't just beat the bushes for new people. They have to have attended 2 meetings. And that means the nominating committee would have to access in some sense the record of the team.
Does Jim, just attending a meeting online count as attending a meeting?
depends on the group. We have said that attending online
I
is,
mean, for, definitely.
yeah, that most of them don't.
We had that established with online, so.
It's my understanding that the new council policy does not allow that.
Right,
And so we are going to go against the council policy.
that depends on who we nominate, remember.
There's that. I think everyone that we had as qualifying nominee have been to meetings in person
So far.
so far.
If somebody were to come to the meeting, come to the election, and nominate themselves on the floor,
You have to come to 2 readings.
but if the council policy says that we cannot enforce that rule, how would we enforce that rule if we can't enforce that rule?
And I'm just saying, we work for my own bylaws. And you've made some adjustments. Define where to qualify. As a organization. And I'm not sure if there's been a change. Has there?
No.
No, I'm just saying, as we work off our bylaws until we are forced to change.
With the knowledge that we are not following the council policy.
Okay, stepping out of that in order to maintain our volume, our number of seats. I don't think, it's not like we're. Yeah.
Right, if we limit it to a small group of people, we're limiting ourselves.
Right,
We might not agree with the council policy, but that's what the policy says.
I think
I just want to mention that, because
I think we can call it an exception.
The accessibility taken into consideration for people who maybe can't make it or don't have a card, or we should still have a right to be able to.
That is one of the reasons we keep the Zoom hybrid meeting and allow people to attend from home and still be able to do childcare.
in terms of the Brown Act, if you're on the board, you have to attend the meeting in person, be part of the forum, unless you publish with the agenda in your home address, or wherever your media address is.
Wherever the location you're going to be at.
Only in case of a medical or some kind of emergency, it's really difficult ones, because you can't be a regular.
Yeah. So we need volunteers for the.
I'm not sure who's making the noise here. It's. Yeah. Oh, red, red. I'll volunteer to be one of the nominees.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
You guys were on this before.
yeah.
Continuation.
Maybe we have more people that, we emailed about 9 months ago, whenever.
Yeah, it's gonna be that same list plus 4 or 5. Yeah. Okay, then,
We'll get on it.
next item of business?
Yeah.
At this point, do we have Alex Long online?
Let's see.
I do not see him online.
And I mean, now.
Alex Long, but SD Ride. We have a presenter from SD Ride. Okay,
Right.
the Ride SD rather. Okay, then. If he appears, we will shuffle, otherwise we'll proceed to the next item, which is review of the land development code update. There will be a more extensive presentation on this. In April. So our next meeting will have a full presentation from the city on the land development code updates. It's done every 2 years, I believe, and it's a 2-year cycle, so it takes a while for the updates to municipal code to flow through. Basically, they're proposed, and at this point, there's a list of proposed changes to the municipal code. It's being presented to community groups, to citizens, working sessions, and then it finally go through and be approved by city council. And then it still has to go to the coastal commission. So coastal commission would sit on it for about 2 years. So front to end, it's about a 4-year process to get changes into municipal code. Of the 96 items that are in the municipal code, half of them pertain only to downtown. And there was really only one that stood out as applicable in Normal Heights, and that was for front yard setbacks related to ADU construction. So the idea being, can you build an ADU in your front yard? Today, the answer is yes, but you have to respect the front yard setbacks. So they're considering changing that to allow more density, basically. They just, so there are some concerns with the language of that particular item. When can't it be done? How much land do you have to have before you can build in your front yard, obviously? I don't know that Normal Heights even has front yards large enough to be concerned with this, but we're keeping an eye on it. And there'll be a larger presentation in April. I think public right of way goes from 25 feet from the center of the street. And so you can't build in the public right of way. So usually like along Mountain View, all of those front yards are cut in half. Their public right of way extends about 4 to 6 feet into people's front yards. You could build up to the 4 to 6 foot public right of way, maybe, depending on other setback concerns. Okay, next up is city, county, state government agencies, if present. I believe Ben Mendoza is going to go in for Sarah. I don't see him in the room or on the call.
I need to run here for Senator Higgins.
Okay, yeah, let's get to Tony. We've been waiting patiently.
Hi, Paul. Thank you. Good evening, folks. It's good to be back with you all. I've covered Normal Heights several times over the years, and I actually used to live right down the street from where you are meeting. But I am with Senator Tony Atkins' office. I will be your representative moving forward, and just have a couple of quick updates for you. The California Housing Finance Agency has announced that it will be looking at another additional round of applications for the California Dream for All, the Shared Application Loan Program. This is a program that the senator created in the 2022-2023 budget to help provide first-time home buyers with up to 20% of the price of their home to purchase as a down payment or closing cost assistance. All of that up to $150,000. That program, I will put in the chat the more information and a way for you to see if you qualify to apply. And also because tax season is upon us, we have Cal EITC, that earned income tax credit, to help working families and individuals help make ends meet. And it is for wage earners that have an income of no more than under $40,000. So it's no more than $30,950 in order to qualify. The tax credit ranges between $285 and $3,529, depending on your income and the size of your family. But CalEITC4me.org is where you can see if you qualify. And sometimes folks don't earn enough income during a year to file for taxes. So even if you've done something and you've earned $10 from some type of work, file taxes you can apply for the earned income tax credit and receive a bigger refund. And I'm going to put in the chat as well contact information for me. So if you have any state-related issues that you have questions or you need assistance with, you can contact me at my email, tony.duran@sen.ca.gov, or our phone, 619-688-6700. And I look forward to seeing you all in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. We'll be sure to get those links onto our website as well in
Thank
the meeting minutes. I did see Alex Wong had entered the chat, entered the room. So let me in here. And Alex, are you prepared to present yet? I think you're on mute.
Just wait a moment. Maybe if there's someone else who's another speaker who might have a brief report to share, then yeah, just have them speak first.
No problem. We'll run down the other agenda items and come back to you. Let's see, do we have a representative from Monica Montgomery Step? Mayor's office. Oh yeah, it's a big night, huh? Sarah Jacobs. Okay. Move to chair report on the Community Planners Committee. Shared. Oh, there's our board election seats you're asking about. So this election cycle, we have, looks like 10 positions. Okay. So the community planning committee, there's a subcommittee for opening or requesting a grand jury investigation into SD planning department and DSD for practices that are inconsistent mainly. At this point, the narrative for that submission has been completed and it's available. You go to the Normal Heights, our Normal Heights website, NHCPG.org, and there'll be a link there that will take you to the grand jury information and the document itself that's work in progress. And you can even leave notes in the Google Doc if you like. The next step will be a meeting on the Tuesday the 12th. That'll be announced through email. The Zoom link for that meeting will be the same as this one. And in that meeting, we'll be working on collecting the evidence that backs up the narrative. So that's another 2-month process. And then we'll take that document to the CPC for approval. And then it will be submitted to grand jury no later than June. Community group updates. Scott?
So a report from the Amsterdam Association would include that on April 27th is our next event and everyone flood. It's an all-day music festival, and this year on Friday, April 26th, we're having a special screening of a movie called Reportedly Yours, which is about one of the founders of Unplugged Luther, who passed away a few years ago. It's a movie that was made last year, it's filmed a couple times, and it's the work in downtown. I wanted to spend the rest of my time speaking about a program that the business association is in partnership with UCSD for the last 5 years. It's called Alley the National. And we did a demonstration project right before the pandemic. That envisions the reuse of alleys with the pedestrian orientation, sustainability, groundwater filtration, and basically the elimination of the alleys for through there for trash collections and parks. So we've invested a few years in this, and we just submitted 2 grants this last month, one to the World Design Capital, which is the big international competition. And the awardees that are going to be announced this week, it's supposed to be last week, and then the week before, but I'm pretty sure we're going to hopefully win one of the grants. Even if we don't, we were planning to do this alley demonstration on May 18th. And we have chosen the alley in between Hawley and Mansfield, just a half a block this way. It connects to the park. It's a major thoroughfare for Adams Elementary, Global Vision kids and families. We have a partnership with Global Visions, which is the charter school here in Adams Elementary, UCSD, ARC, and a few other organizations. And so, May 18th is the alley demonstration. We hope to have about 1,000 people there. UCSD students in urban studies have been piloting this program, and it's headed by a professor who was a former chair of the San Diego Planning Commission student years. So she's very knowledgeable in this type of thing. It's her kind of big project, and alleys are used all over the world in a lot of different ways and better used than what we do in San Diego. And it happens to be the normal height and 30% of our roadways are alleys. And we have the highest percentage of alleys in the city, all of the older parts of the city, from City Heights down to Ocean Beach, this grid of alleys. So the program on May 18th is basically a demonstration with public input on what they would like to see in the alley. We have the school kids that want to see the transportation zone from the back of their schools to the park. We have the church as a partner. And we plan to install our first mural in September in the alley. We have a full wall of the north side of the south side of the alley, right, over the big gigantic park. We plan to hopefully repave the alley and some other uses and remove all the trash in the alley and do the crash system for the end of the alley, keep the trash counter, and eventually keep cars out of part of the alley or the kind of around. Anyway, it's a big, we've been working on it for a few years, and in the next year, both in May and November, we're going to have 2 demonstration projects for the whole town the alley. We've already sent them cycle down to the grant and that. And this week we'll find out whether or not we've got chosen the one that will be done capital grant. Any questions about that?
Thank you. Next up is El Cajon El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association, Gary. And you're muted. It'd be nice if we could unmute from this end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotcha. Thanks.
I want, they're planning, and I'm not sure when, a developers tour along the boulevard. They've done this several times before, where they round up anyone who's interested in developing anything and drive the boulevard and talk about potential for various development sites. That's something I recommend you get engaged with when the time comes. I think they were talking about doing that in May. And it'd be a good opportunity to figure out why every block in mid-city except the boulevard has high rises coming out of it. And that's all I know.
Yeah, keep us posted on the date that happens, and we'll probably want to be participating.
I would think you should. It's
Thank you.
useful to make those connections with the building industry.
Absolutely. Next is Normal Heights Community Association and Urban Arts.
So the Normal Heights Community Association has an event coming up, second annual extravaganza. So it's prepping for the Easter holiday, some of the traditions with eggs for children. Sorry, no adults participate, but they can watch as the children get to have a really good time. And that's going to happen on March 23rd, Saturday, from 10 to noon. And there's we'd like people to RSVP, so if you'd like to RSVP, go to our website, Normal Heights, COMMASSOC. Or just start typing Normal Heights Community Association, and you'll find our website.
And the location where.
Oh, sorry, Ward Canyon Park. It's gonna, please RSVP. That's all we have going on for the next quarter.
Nice event over there at the air conditioned lounge.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Next up is Adams Community Recreation Advisory Group.
They're meeting last week. And, they're having several of you. On March 29th, there's a spring fling, it's a very fun. And for the park, the baseball, and it's from 4 to 6, it's a Friday. And then, we don't have a date exactly yet, for the mural, but we're gonna be, mural is gonna be put on the side of the next building. And on this one, we have a celebration, we'll take everything to the mural. And then, we have our classes after school on Tuesday, Thursday. You can look on the website, I'm on the website, and we'll give you the dates and times. There are youth ceramics in March. There are youth ceramics in April. And they have soccer TV. In April through May 30th. They got soccer turning under in one April 1st to May 31st. They have a spring day camp from April 2nd to April 5th. That's the spring week that everybody's back to school. And they have the Easter egg putting on. And then they have adult ceramic.
Thank you.
Paul, can I add something about the mural and Nancy's report? So we have 2 dates for the mural installation. We're waiting on the contract. It's either Thursday, March 14th or Tuesday, March 19th. As soon as it's installed, or we know it's installed, and we're going to send out a press release and plan an opening ceremony on the Saturday for that. And we've raised almost $50,000 in the last 2.5 years for the mural, and the fundraising section is over. And we're really excited about it. Given that it worked very hard on that, and before we meet next, it's going to be installed. So stay tuned to AADA social media will be announced.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that we have, if you'd like to participate in the activities and decisions about recreation activities from the center or in the community. We've established a Google group, so we can email and keep up to date. And the meetings are held at the recreation center on the
Or Tuesday,
fourth Tuesday at 6 o'clock. All are will.
we need members.
Normal people who like to play.
Next up is Normal Heights for Smart Growth. Carolyn McEwen is going to be putting together the report on the statistics that have been being gathered from the community. There's a community poll that's been out for several months, so we're going to roll that up, and she'll have a we'll be able to present that data in April. I think at this point, Alex, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh, that's awesome. Take it away. This is Alex Wong from SD Ride. Nope, Ride SD, sorry.
I think it says host disabled participant screen sharing, or
Oh, let me make you a co-host.
okay.
There you go.
Let's see.
That looks good.
Well, thank you. So of course, as Paul mentioned, my name is Alex Wong, and I'm the data researcher at RAD-SD. And today we're going to go over why the people mover to the airport is Normal Heights' best bet. So of course, the current airport transit situation, if you want to go from Normal Heights to the airport, is not really ideal. You have to take the Rapid 215 to downtown, and you have to transfer to the 992 bus, but the 992 bus only comes every 15 minutes. And of course, frequency and just having to transfer, is a big issue that we'll get into later. There's definitely advantages of rail to the airports, because an airport rail connection, it's fully grade separated. It doesn't have to share the road with cars. And therefore, unlike buses, trains will not get stuck in traffic, which results in reliable travel times. And that's definitely important when you're trying to get to the airport. Currently, there's two main airport rail connection concepts. There's actually more than two, there's like 7, but they basically fall into these two main categories right here. And there's the airport trolley, which is kind of one of the concepts, and it's not really a great concept, but we'll get into that a bit more of that later. But as you can see, the airport trolley would basically be a new trolley line that's kind of piggybacked onto existing trolley tracks between 12th and Imperial and about Hawthorne or so. And then it's from at Hawthorne, it kind of branches off onto a new elevated track to go to the airport. But as we'll see later, there's major problems with having the airport trolley share tracks with existing trolley tracks. But there's a much better option, which is the automated people mover. And the automated people mover, because it does not share tracks with any other existing trolley service. In fact, it will just have an entirely new dedicated grade separated right of way. Because it's elevated above the streets, it will not interfere with car traffic, and it will not be interrupted by car traffic, and it will result in maximum frequency and reliability. Oh, yes, and yeah, that's just a bigger picture of the airport trolley. And the South Flag elevated automated people mover in particular is the leading concept, as Sandak interim CEO Colleen Clementson has said. The people mover actually means faster trips to the airports. Here are some of the estimated maximum trip times between El Cajon and 35th Street and the airport. You have 3 scenarios here. Scenario number 1, Rapid 215, that's what we currently have. And under this scenario, you would take about 50 to 52 minutes in total for a maximum trip time to the airport. Whereas for the airport trolley, you'd spend 57 minutes for a maximum trip time. And for the people mover, you'd spend 43 minutes max to get to the airport. And notice that there's the really big difference. The key difference between why the people mover is faster than the airport trolley is because, okay, I hope you, sorry, yeah, is because because as you can see, there is a much shorter wait time for the people mover versus the trolley. As you can see, the people mover has a 2-minute wait time, whereas the trolley has a 15-minute wait time. And as we'll see soon, wait times are a huge factor. In fact, probably the main factor in really in attracting people to transit. 15-minute frequencies are actually quite inconvenient. If you have to wait up to 15 minutes for a bus or a train, that's very inconvenient because this chart over here, what it's really trying to show is that there have been many studies conducted to gauge how long, how many minutes a passenger will perceive a minute of wait time versus a minute of in-vehicle time or a minute spent on board the vehicle. And it has been found that passengers often perceive 1 minute of wait time as feeling equivalent to up to 2, 3, or even 4 minutes of in-vehicle time. In-vehicle time being the time that passengers spend on board the bus or train or trolley, because it's quite obvious if you have to spend a minute of wait time, a minute waiting outside in elements, waiting for the bus or trolley, going nowhere, it definitely feels a lot longer than the same 1 minute spent on board the trolley or bus where it's air conditioned and you're actually going somewhere. And you might wonder what a people mover is in the first place. Well, if you've ever been to an airport, say San Francisco airport or maybe the Phoenix airports, you'll have a lot of terminals or a really big terminal, and you need to get from between terminals quite fast, get between terminals or between gates quite fast because it's just so big. And to do that, you will often take a train, kind of a small automated train. And that is what a people mover is. So you might think, well, people movers, I only see them at airports. Can they really be expanded past the airport into Midway, into Point Loma, or just any destination to be past the airports, maybe the beach perhaps, or maybe even Hillcrest? Well, in fact, they can't, because people movers are not just used at airports. As you can see on the top left, that's Tampa Airport, and there's planes there. It's obviously an airport, and this is their people mover over here. But on the top right, there's basically the same train, which really the same train model, except you see it running outside an airport in a dense urban environment. This is Tokyo. So they have a 9.1 mile people mover line that runs entirely outside the airport and really serves as kind of a subway, except it's elevated. Then on the bottom left, you have, once again, clearly another airport. This time is the Paris airport, and you have their people mover. And on the bottom right, you have the same train, the same model of train running completely outside of the airport, kind of functioning like an elevated metro style train, except it's running in a densely populated area in Seoul, South Korea. And for some North American examples, you have the JFK Airport's air train. That's what their people mover is called. And you can see the same model of train running outside the airports in Vancouver's SkyTrain, which is kind of like their version of the trolley, except it's just a lot more frequent and gets a ton more riders. Then on the bottom left, you see the people mover at the Miami airport. And on the bottom right, you see the same model of train running completely outside of the airport through what is clearly a residential area that is dense and urban in Singapore. And here we have a chart that shows that there are some people mover lines that can run for up to 15 or even 20 miles completely outside of the airports. As you can see, the VOW 256 people mover technology, it's used at O'Hare Airport, but it's also used on Taipei's Wenhu line. And the Taipei Wenhu line runs for 15.6 miles, almost completely outside the airport. It really functions as kind of like an elevated metro line. APM viaducts are probably less visually impactful than trolley viaducts. I know that there are some people who believe, oh, APM viaducts, we can't have an elevated viaducts because that will block views. Well, okay, I'm not going to lie and say that there's no impacts, but it's really not going to be as bad as people think, right? Because APM viaducts typically have no overhead wires. In fact, like look at these viaducts. They don't have overhead wires like trolley viaducts, and they're slimmer than trolley viaducts. They're just narrower in width. They're less imposing, and they're so not imposing that, as you can see in this picture, there's kind of a bike path below, right? You could just not imagine that if this was an elevated freeway or an elevated freeway on-ramp, that there would be a bike path below. It would, because a freeway would just be much more imposing and it would cast a much wider shadow and it would be a lot noisier than people mover viaducts. But cycling, walking under people mover viaducts, no problem. It's actually pretty pleasant, right? And on the left, we have Vancouver. It's a city that is very famous for mountains and their ocean view and sustainable planning. And they would have every right to say, oh, people mover viaducts block our views. But no, they've really found a way to elevate these people movers and really integrate them into these transit-oriented developments, even in residential areas that, as you can see, are quite similar to downtown in terms of having a lot of high-rise condos. And yeah, this station is pretty compact and really melds elegantly into the surrounding development. Of course, there is another problem with the airport trolley, is that it will limit green line frequency, because the airport trolley will merge onto existing blue or green line tracks, creating a bottleneck. This is the red line. This is the proposed airport trolley. And as you can see, it will merge onto the blue and green lines, and this bottleneck will further limit the green line's throughput. So we estimate that there is a maximum track capacity of about 16 trains per hour on the tracks shared by the blue and green lines, which means a maximum of 8 trains per hour for each line. And that translates to 7.5 minute frequencies. MTS will give the blue line 8 trains per hour since it's the highest ridership line, and the remaining 8 trains per hour will have to be shared and divided evenly by the green line and the airport trolley. So unless Sandag builds a downtown tunnel, which is very unlikely because that's not even listed in the regional transportation plan, the green line would have a maximum of 4 trains per hour, meaning that at best it will be able to have 15-minute frequencies, which is no improvement from the status quo. But by contrast, the people mover will maximize green line frequency because the people mover uses different technology and tracks in the trolleys. It will not share tracks with existing trolley services, thereby freeing up track space for the green line. And because it's automated, MTS will be free to deploy more trolley operators and trolley vehicles to the green line. And the airport trolley, in addition to limiting frequency, it also reduces green line reliability because the airport trolley kind of branches off at a flat junction. So a flat junction is where trains might have to stop for each other to pass. It's kind of what you see at the junction of the orange and green lines, how sometimes trains how the orange and green lines kind of cross each other's paths at grade. So sometimes trains have to wait for each other to pass, and that really slows things down and decreases reliability. So as you can see, the airport trolley and green lines share the same tracks in downtown. They both share a single pair of tracks. Therefore, delays on the airport trolley in downtown will impact the green line and vice versa. Like you could easily imagine that you see there's all these major event venues over here. There's the Petco ballpark, and there's also a convention center. There's just all sorts of events around here. And you can imagine that after a major event, there's crowds rushing to board the green line trolley, and those crowds, it could take a long time to board so many people, and that could really delay the green line trolley, and that could definitely interfere with airport trolley operations and delay the airport trolley in addition to the green line trolley. So that's the gist of what I have to say, but I would ask for your support for the people mover and perhaps maybe vote to endorse the automated people mover, and you can send this letter over here to Sandag, MTS, and Chair Whitburn. And Chair Whitburn is kind of skeptical of the people mover. He's leaning more towards trolley, but fortunately, I know that council president, Sean Elo Rivera, he actually does support the people mover and he understands that it is the best way to go. So we at Ride ST are definitely happy to provide assistance with templates and guidance. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And of course, you can email me with questions.
Well, thank you. I think we'll take some questions from the room and then from Zoom and then from the board and then over. So is anyone in the room have any questions? How about on the Zoom channel? And here, I see Paul Jameson has his hand raised. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Thank you for your presentation. I really learned a lot, and I didn't realize those limitations around the tunnel and that would restrict increasing frequency on the trolley line. So interested to learn more about that. But I do think regardless of what gets built, we really need a rail connection to the airport. Every other major city on the West Coast has one in the US, and then you got Vancouver. LA's People Mover will be ready soon, right? So that'll kind of be the last major city on the West Coast other than San Diego. I mean, even Denver, where the airport's 25 miles away, they were able to connect to rail, 25 miles between the downtown and the airport. Our trolley line is just feet from the airport. And so it's really disappointing that we haven't been able to make some sort of connection, regardless of whether it's people mover or the trolley. So I'm really excited for something to happen here. It sounds like it's being kicked back to planning again, where it's going to be more years of planning. So I just hope we can make some headway and make this direct rail connection. We really need something like this. And I think it's another example of how we've kind of prioritized cars and moving people in cars to the detriment of our climate and air pollution and all these other things without much needed public transit infrastructure. So thanks again for your presentation.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so we have Jim is both in the room and online and on the board, so please.
Three votes.
You get to talk for 6 minutes.
Thank you for the presentation tonight. I saw some slides go by quickly to compare the cost. Could you, and I missed those. Do we have a cost comparison for the two? Proposed?
A cost comparison. Let's see here. So, yes, sorry. I have to share. I guess I have to share my screen again. I know it's somewhere here. Okay, so here is the cost comparison, and as you can see here, the airport trolley, it would cost 1.35 billion. And on face value, okay, yeah, that's like $200 million cheaper than 1.57 billion for the APM on face value, right? But you also have to consider the APM is going to run every 2 minutes. The airport trolley you might save 200 million in the short run, but you get what is basically an inferior service, 15-minute frequencies. So, and you also have to consider that extra 200 million that you're spending on the APM, that is largely going to go into advanced signaling and automation that's going to help the APM run driverless. And that is going to mean that the APM is going to be able to run much more frequently because there's no driver costs. So, it's a lot more fiscally feasible for MTS to run these APM trains much more often than with a trolley. And because of that, and those lower operating costs combined with that additional ridership, that additional fare box revenue, it would easily recover the upfront investment that you have to put in to automate the APM. Does that answer your question?
Sure. If you don't mind, would you zoom in into that table a little bit? And I think in summary, are we saying that the people mover and the trolley are pretty close in cost, but since the trolley requires a tunnel, that nearly doubles the trolley solution?
Oh, yeah. So you might have seen this. And okay, so technically the trolley doesn't require a tunnel if you're just building this airport trolley as shown on Sandag and MTS's reports. But if you want the trolley to run, if you want the trolley through Mission Valley, right, the Green Line, to run more than every 15 minutes, then yes, you're going to very, very likely need a tunnel or just massive amounts of grade separation that are going to be just as expensive as building a tunnel. And this tunnel or this massive amount of grade separation, it would likely cost 1.8 billion. And where did I pull this number from? Well, 1.8 billion is exactly the cost of the regional connector in LA where they built a downtown light rail tunnel and that opened just recently. So, yes, it might seem like, okay, the airport trolley upfront, it costs a bit less, but if you really want to deliver that 7.5 minute or better frequency to Mission Valley, which is really important because Mission Valley, it's just one of the fastest growing areas in the city. If you really want to deliver that frequency to Mission Valley, then you'll need to build this tunnel or, once again, very extensive and expensive grade separation that costs basically just as much, and it's going to end up costing 3.15 billion. Whereas if you build the APM, well, you can just build the APM and that will free up enough track space on the existing green lines such that the green line can now double frequencies so that Mission Valley can have those 7.5 minute or better frequencies without even building a tunnel in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Jim, do you have any other questions?
My other question was, we're in normal heights. What's it cost to extend the line so that we can get to the airport?
Right, is there a per mile cost on this that we can lobby for?
A per mile cost. Well, unfortunately, Sandex report hasn't really said that they would expend. Sandex report is just saying that they're going to build this kind of initial phase between downtown and the airport. They haven't really said about future extensions, but of course, there's Midway right around the corner, so that's probably a very likely candidate for expansion. They haven't said about expanding it to normal heights though, so I can't really say anything about that. As for a per mile cost, well, I didn't have it on this slide, but if you look at miles of new track, like the APM actually costs about 500 million per mile of new track. And the airport trolley, it actually costs 700 million per mile of new track. So if you're just counting in terms of per mile of new track, the APM is actually, ironically, slightly cheaper.
Okay. You had mentioned, while we're on the subject of traveling from normal heights, you mentioned taking 215 to the 992. I would tend to take the 11 to downtown and then hook it to Union Station and maybe Uber that last leg. How does the 11 connect to the 215 or the 992? And pardon me if you don't have that answer. I'm asking you an MTS question.
Oh, what was your question about the 11?
How would you get to the airport using the number 11 bus from Adams Avenue today? Because I'm not familiar with the 215.
I'm not that familiar with the 11 bus. Of course, I would have to pull out a map like you would. I'm sorry for that. Yes, the 235 is I simply put it there because it is the one that I'm most familiar with. Although I understand that it's not really at the center of normal heights for most people.
Gotcha. Okay. No problem. Francis.
I just, could you describe, I'm not clear on like, whether this is the thing where you would get on at one place downtown and it would only go to the airport. Would it intersect with the trolley? Would there be stops along the way? Would there be chances for people on the trolley to switch to this? I'm kind of unclear about it.
Oh, okay. So you're asking about how the people moving would connect to the existing trolley network and just the existing transit network.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if people are taking the trolley from Santee, would there be an opportunity to get on this people mover? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, so if you're thinking about, did you say Santee?
Well, some distant point, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you're coming down on the line or something.
UCSD.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely.
Could you?
Yeah, I will show you the picture once again of the automated people mover. So, okay, I should probably just go into. Okay, there. So this automated people mover, as you can see, it connects. If you're from UCSD, for example, you're going to take the blue line, right? The blue line kind of runs here. you're going to take the blue line down on the trolley, and then at Santa Fe Depot, there's going to be this station, the APM station. So you can just switch from the trolley to the APM at this APM station. And then after that, you can take this APM, and it will take about maybe 8 minutes tops to get to the airport terminal.
So would that be the only, two questions about that. Would that be the only junction? And wouldn't you be at a different, like you come in on the trolley at street level and then you have to somehow get up in the air for the people, right?
Oh, so yes, the people mover would be, yes, the trolley is at street level, and yes, the people mover is elevated. And I understand like your concerns about, maybe people with mobility problems, how are they going to like get up to the elevated people mover station? But, I would like to remind you that we already have elevated rail stations at UCSD and around that area next to all the hospitals. And of course, there would be plenty of people with probably mobility devices who have to kind of get from ground level up to the top. But, I think it's, I can't speak for everyone, but I think that the elevated rail is working pretty well in that area because, they have elevators, and I'm sure that there will also similarly be elevators at the station to bring you up from the trolley level to up to the elevated people mover.
Yeah, this map also answers my question about the number 11, since it terminates between those two dots on the line at the bottom. So in normal heights, we could actually take the number 11 directly to the people mover.
Oh, yes, and also there's going to be this additional station that the people for the people mover at around Horton Plaza, and this will be maybe a block away from the Civic Center trolley station.
How many stops are you proposing?
Oh, how many dots are there?
Stops.
Oh, how many stops are there? Okay, there's free stops, like these free black dots. The airport, Santa Fe Depot, and Civic Center, those are the free stations that are going to be built if the people mover is chosen, that is. And these pink dots are kind of optional. So if you count these pink dots, there's 5 stations. If you don't count these pink dots, there's only 3 stations. And between Santa Fe Depot and the airport, it would be a straight shot without stopping at all. So very fast.
Thank you.
Any other
Comments, not questions.
All right.
I was just gonna say, I've taken the people mover in Tokyo, very convenient, very helpful, and I think that one actually cost double what the subway did, but I was willing to pay it because either I was on my way to the airport and I was in a hurry, or I just got off the plane and I was tired and wanted to get to where I was going. So I think the fare box for free or something like that is, you can charge, it's not the seat amount more, but more than your average people want to get there. And
Oh, was that a question? I'm sorry if I couldn't really hear that.
It's just speaking in support.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. You mentioned that there are people who are for and against. Who's supporting the trolley solution? Who thinks that that's like the best idea on the table?
Well, I don't really want to stereotype, because it's kind of, these groups are definitely diverse, and I can't really like say everyone in this group is against the people mover, right? But in terms of like major key players here, well, so Sandag is definitely, I talked to Ryan Kohut, who was until recently kind of the director of the people mover and the airport rail connection projects, and he was definitely saying that, yeah, he definitely thinks that the people mover is the way to go. And as you can see in Sandag's report, like when they have a lot more people mover proposals and only one trolley proposal, well, if they're studying that much in depth, like, yeah, Sandag is definitely in on the people mover. They want that. But as for people who are kind of opposed to the people mover, well, MTS is kind of a mixed bag. Like in general, they're kind of more skeptical about the people mover because, MTS, I guess, like, yeah, I can understand that, sometimes you just want the familiarity of the trolley, and, MTS is kind of, there's a bit of this nostalgia for the trolley because, oh, we were the first city in the nation to build this light rail system, and, this is the status quo, and this is what we have now. But I can't really stereotype because, like I said, Shawnee Rivera, he's on the MTS board, but he does support the people mover. However, MTS Chair Whitburn, like I said, he's a lot more skeptical about the people mover, and he kind of supports the trolley. And of course, people who live in downtown along where the proposed people mover is, they oppose the people mover because it's elevated. And and of course, yes, maybe some people are going to be impacted, but once again, this is a project that is not just about downtown, it's really for the entire region, really for the entire transit system as a whole. So I would really urge MTS, Sandag, just everyone to consider what does the most good for the most people, not just, a few people, a few blocks in downtown don't like it. So now we have to bow to them and we have to please everyone, right? Like no project is going to make everyone happy, but there is a project that's going to make the most people benefit, and that would be the people mover.
Is there any stand or position taken by any industry groups like BIA?
So BIA, I'm not familiar with them.
Building industry or large developers? Are there private interests that are either for or against, or they just don't really have an opinion?
I have not really heard from them yet. So I can't say about for private parties. I know that the airport authority, they tend to be, so I've heard, but once again, can't really generalize. So I've heard that the airport authority is pretty pleased with the people mover option, but they're not super proactive because they know that, the final decision is up to Sandag.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Alex. Did you have an ask of the board for a letter? I saw you had a letter of templates and such. Are you asking us to write anything on your behalf?
Oh, the letter. So yes, unfortunately, I did not get around to writing, I know, a letter of support. And of course, this was supposed to be an action item, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought that, okay, maybe the board isn't really ready to endorse the concept. That's completely fine. But of course, if you see this concept and you're gung-ho about it, well, yeah, it would definitely be a huge boost if you endorse it now, but it's really fine either way. However, there's an attached letter. Like if you just go back to the kind of the questions comment slide, I have a link there where there's a form letter that you can send to Chair Whitburn, and in particular because he's more skeptical about the people mover.
Oh, yeah. Alex, send me the presentation so I can make sure the links get to everyone, and we include them in the meeting minutes as well.
Okay.
And then as far as a letter from the board together, I'll table that till the next meeting in April. And I'll put that on the agenda to vote whether or not we want to write a letter as a group.
Just right here. This is listed as next, and I'm prepared to move it.
Okay, then that sounds like you're making a motion. Do we have a second? All right.
You haven't heard what my motion is now. Moving that we request extension, but not now. I move that we send a letter of support of the people mover option. And get it in quickly.
Okay,
I'll keep my second.
second. Any comments? Then we'll take it to a vote. In favor? Show of hands. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor. Any nays?
Yeah, I don't have nearly enough information to support this.
Would you like to abstain or nay?
I think nay.
Nay. Okay, we have 1 nay. So it passes for action. So we had Francis May. I think. Okay. So Alex, I'll access your template and distribute that to the group for edits.
Okay. Yeah, well,
And then
well,
we'll, and then as soon as everyone's had a chance to do an edit and approve, then we'll send it on. That's what we did with Rainey's letter from the last session, which by the way was delivered.
well, yes, thank you for your support. I think I sent you the presentation, but I will send you it once again.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time and the presentation.
Oh, no problem.
Yes.
So just the fact that we get both of the letter, where would be, does that include, when someone gives a presentation, how would it be like to have story in the airport? And have we just cut off some of the avenue?
I think any party that's willing and able to come to the community group and ask, do a presentation and ask for a letter can. If someone were to come and propose a trolley after this and say, hey, this is really good, we could send a letter in support of that as well. We're allowed to flip flop. Well, okay. Next up, standing committees, the Joint Mid-City Community Plan Update Committee, which I heard was being dissolved in favor of the city's commission.
Well, I guess, it's all for this. That, there's. Okay. Yeah, as far as right now, there's not gonna be a separate committee doing that, but there might be a need to do it.
Okay. Do we need representation from this board at the city? I believe they have a seat reserved for us.
We not necessarily there. But that's not true. There is one seat, so we need.
Okay. And I believe there's an application process for that.
Application already closed, it closed in the 80.
The application for like general citizens to be on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I believe we could still seat anyone from this board on that committee. On the city planning committee.
Yeah.
But we would do that via Natalie. We just send a request card to you.
Yeah, because they haven't even seen the community yet too. I don't know.
Okay.
You want to wait until that comes out. Figure out.
I would say let's get a volunteer now, so when they ask, we can throw somebody to the wall. Yes. Oh, you're looking at me.
Seems to be the chair.
Oh, no, I'm the CPT. I know.
I applied on the citizens time.
You're on the citizens.
I don't know what about it, but I applied.
Would you want to be represent us as well?
If you want to, Gary.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, don't worry. I mean, I was gonna think that you should do it if you look at the citizen.
Okay.
Then I think everybody in the room taking one step back and you're going.
That is, yeah, happy to do it.
Then you'll be on that in 2 ways.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Historical property review.
I don't have anything. I did want to mention that, on the last time about the Normal Heights historian, I'm really not, that honor goes to some of the, lot of the, Suzanne Letta. And I can provide you a link to fantastic history of Normal Heights. You've written once comes out of the Journal San Diego History, which is a publication of the History Center.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, send me.
I'll send it.
Send me the link and we'll make sure that that gets onto our website.
Do we know how to do that?
In fact,
Back there for 2 years.
She
be sure to copy Sandy.
like Raymond and Eugene or Sydney, who he lived?
The Dover Law.
I think he lived kind of close to me, and I think he used to walk. You hear walking. What's the first one?
Yeah, well, she was
Tiny.
tiny and
Yeah.
thin.
And she was the person who was He made them save all the money.
Yes,
And
yes,
all the corners when they were
yeah.
breaking up the sidewalk. He
That's right.
insisted that they keep those monies.
Yeah,
I think we can constitute that.
yeah.
But her email won't be good.
But we can memorialize on our
But if there's a
website.
reason what for work.
Yeah, that's the Journal of San Diego History, is really the gold standard for Northern Lights
Are
history.
you looking to where you vote?
Right. Normal Heights Elementary.
Or Normal Heights Elementary School?
Okay. Uh, Nominating committee, we're gonna skip that because we just dealt with that one. Utility undergrounding and street lighting.
Yes, so Francis and I met this weekend. We have a little bit of movement, some updates. So the city has announced that the first block, which is block 3B, that's kind of the northeastern portion, north of Adams. Next time I'll bring a map. That has an official construction start date of March 2025. And that will be for the undergrounding and street light installation. So from there, really now it's kind of time to start forming our MAD, our maintenance assessment district. Very exciting. So we're kind of in coordination with the city to kind of understand what those steps are to get that going. It'll take a few months to kind of get underway, but pretty much we tried to create one map for the entire area north of Adams, but unfortunately, just between the way the timing between all these different blocks to get implemented, and there's always voting and lots of bureaucracy that's kind of associated with it, it's ultimately probably going to be easier to do it as SCPD forward. So we'll take little bites at it. We're working with the city, asking them questions on how to get that started. And then we've also asked the city engineer to provide us an update on the other blocks that are north of Adams, because they are in design and program. So initially the construction start date was 2026. So we're checking in with that, and hopefully we'll have an update next meeting on if that's still accurate. So, and the other question we asked them is if the wiring and stud outs for the one light will be included as part of SDPD's scope of work. So we'll get that all confirmed and finally it's movement. So very exciting.
I just add for everybody's information that the MAD, the Maintenance Assessment District project, is required if we want additional lighting.
Yes, yeah.
But we don't need to do it if we decide we don't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I should have explained what the MAD is for. Yeah, so thanks, Jim. So the whole purpose of the Maintenance Assessment District is because the residents north of Adams have expressed interest in having decorative acorn lights along the streets, kind of similar to what we have on Adams. Basically, the city will pay for, street lights that are needed for public safety, but if we want something more decorative, historic, Kensington has them, North Park has them, Point Loma. If we want anything kind of extra and beyond, then that would be something that would be added to each property owner's tax system. And so part of the MAD formation process is we'll come up with one, regulars will all be surveyed on if they still want this to happen, and if so, there will be an official vote that's going up after that. And in that vote, there's a whole city report that's prepared that explains the cost and what would be added to each property owner's tax system. So yeah, all just formation and not anything solid yet, but that'll be the voting process.
Thank you. For the community garden, I've sent letters to the property owners that would need to give us a letter to allow the city to vacate the public right of way that encompasses the parkway between the two sidewalks in front of their homes. And that's because property rights extend to the center of the street for the parcel, and the city maintains the right of way for the street and the sidewalk and the parkway for access. So they would have to vacate their public right of way. It's just a legal proceeding, but it starts with the owners of the property. In one case, it's a resident. In the other case, it's a corporation. So They have probably received those letters by now, and I'll be following up with, knocking on doors or, phone calls, whatever I can do, to try to get a hold of those owners. At this point, it's on hold until that's cleared. Tree replacements, okay. Traffic issue task force.
No update.
I heard the intersection got on the CIP list. Over by the Shell station.
We did. Outstanding.
Yeah, I don't hold me to that because I'm relying on my memory, but I seem to remember seeing something about it getting onto a list for update.
Well, good, because I know that the plan for it, there was some kind of utility work that was being done there. And that was when they were gonna be able to piggyback on that.
Okay,
So I'm guessing that we're probably gonna be able to piggyback on it.
okay. Tell you what, I will, I'll get in touch with our rep to ask about that. Maybe Sarah when she gets back. Community engagement, poll, as I mentioned earlier, the results from Normal Heights for Smart Growth will come back to us, with the poll from the community. And at that point, we can put together, our plan of how to improve community engagement. The city has a worksheet that they want us to fill out, that has the sort of guidelines for engaging the community and, sort of like a, oh, I don't know, it's sort of like something you've seen in math class. It has some, like, here's what you should do, and then right below is empty space on what are you going to do. So we'll fill out this form after we get our community engagement poll back, so we can tailor our outreach to meet the metrics from it. Who wants to go home?
I'm ready to adjourn, but I had a quick question.
Okay.
You did a great job of complying with the city's request to, in effect, justify the group as a representative from the planning department advisory function.
Okay.
You submitted the material. Did we get accepted? I understood the city council is also applying.
The city council still needs to opine, but at this point, all the community groups have submitted their paperwork. And there are 2 community groups that are contested between competing organizations, and that would be for Uptown and the Lake.
Nobody's competing.
We're free. No. Second?
Second.
Well, we're done.